recording started. I live in the country in Fairland, Oklahoma. It's in the far northeast corner of the state, and we do have satellite internet. So I'm always concerned about the voice quality and the video quality. There's usually a little bit of a lag, but we're working on that to make it better. So I'm happy you're here. I'm glad to meet several of you. It looks like we have 4 tonight. We actually have 21 in the class, so I was expecting a few more, but I'm guessing they'll be watching recordings. So I think we'll go ahead and get started so that you guys can get on with your lives after this. I'm sure you have homework and other things to do. Brianne, are you still rocking the baby? We have lots of other things to do, right? Okay, just a few announcements. Bedtime. Yes, bedtime is always good, Jennifer, exactly. And I know our live lectures are later at night. One of the reasons I schedule them for this time is I'm hoping those of you with children that, you know, it's time to get them down to sleep and maybe you'll get a little quiet time. I know how that is. I did my master's degree online when my 2 were toddlers, and they are now 15 and 12. So strange. So leadership development. Let's go on to our quick announcements since this is the beginning of the course. I like to get everybody sort of acclimated. Some of you are brand new to CCC or OTC or Clary Sage College. You like it? Okay, good. The last class was at 3 p.m. Yeah, that's kind of a hard time to meet, isn't it? I agree. Well, good. And you like this time better as well. Good. Well, I'm kind of a nighttime person myself too, Stephanie. So I get a lot of my work done at night and on the weekends as well. So anybody, please don't hesitate to call me in the evenings as long as it's not past like 9 or so. If it's later than that, just send me a text message or send me an email, and lots of times I'll reply later on in the evening. I tend to be on and off my computer quite a bit. Oh, gotcha. Your patients look at you weird, Jennifer. That's funny. I hear things like that all the time. That maybe the husband's sitting behind us watching, or the kids are watching the live lecture. So just whatever you need to do, wherever you're at, that's great. Okay, a few announcements. As far as communication goes, I think I've already covered that. You can email me, text me, Facebook me, phone me. If you have any questions, please do so. I'm in my office at CCC from 9:30 to 5 o'clock every Tuesday, so you're always welcome to come to the office if you need some one-on-one time or to talk about an assignment. That would be great. That's what I'm there for. The rest of the time I'm way up here in Fairland. I live on kind of a mini farm with 3 dogs, a cat, 15 chickens, 3 ducks, 4 goats, and 1 mini pig. So one time, usually the last class, I'll let you guys meet Dottie the mini pig because she's kind of a treat. She's funny. Farmer Shaney, exactly. Only my animals sleep later than normal because they're sort of urbanized. They have to deal with my schedule. Okay, the assignments. Most of our due dates are Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And that's how most every teacher in the AOS classes have their courses set up so that you know how it's going to be. You get used to that schedule. And then when you get into your area of concentration, sometimes things will change there. You'll have different instructors with different due times. But I think it's great that things are kind of grouped together. It makes it really familiar. I always suggest logging on as much as possible, actually. Check your email from the college every other day at the minimum. Of course, I check mine every day, even on the weekends and on Sunday. Check in with our course page at least 3 times a week and get those assignments in. You'll do great. A little bit about the coursework on the discussion boards. Please do not post late on that. However, this first week, I had a few people that needed to post late. We have some people that joined on Wednesday. We've had a few different issues, and you know, our first week I try to be very flexible because I know everybody's getting used to the course and issues come up. So normally though, after this week, please do post late on the discussion boards. Because of the nature of that, you don't get any interaction. Late assignments, 10% per day late, but you can always turn it in extra late. That's okay. You can usually get a few points out of it. So even if it's 1 week, go ahead and turn that in so I can get you some points. Time intensity. Plan 2 to 3 hours on your homework or 6 to 10 hours per week. And I know that sounds really huge, but the thing is, as a distance learner, we get those hours in pretty easily. You may be doing it 30 minutes at a time, and if you would ever track yourself, you might realize just how much time you really do spend either reading or doing homework. Yes, especially since you work 45 hours a week. Exactly, Jennifer, exactly. So I know a lot of you are full-time workers, and maybe you're just trying to get your school done in your spare time. I completely understand that. So you may find out if you just do it in little bits, it's much easier. Break it down into small bites. That's how we eat the elephant. Live lecture will be every Thursday at 8 o'clock, and you'll notice that I put down there if you ever miss it, and I know that's going to happen, we'll be putting a YouTube link up usually by the day after in the evening. So since our lecture is on Thursdays, Friday evening, we should have the link up to the YouTube version. All you need to do is watch that, summarize it, and then turn it in so that you can get your 100 points. You do get 100 points for each live lecture, so I want you to get that. A little bit of a summary. And tonight, since, let me see, it's 8:15 or so, we'll probably be here till about 8:45. I try to get off a little bit before the next class starts. A lot of people don't realize, but Blackboard Collaborate is kind of like scheduling a classroom. Only one class can meet at a time, so we have to get off so that the next class can get on. So chapter 2, we're going to go a little bit over this. I know you have several different chapters to go through. One thing that I wanted to mention, I noticed on the PowerPoints for this class that there's some questions that were left in from the class that's on site. So I want you to know that those questions are really just there for you to think about it. You don't have to turn anything in concerning our PowerPoints. They're just there for extra information. So we're going to talk about traits, motives, and characteristics of leaders, since this is leadership development. So first of all, I want to use you guys, utilize a little bit of your experience. You tell me, just type it in on the chat box, what words do you use to describe someone who is a good leader? Really focus on the good part. So what are the words that you use to describe a good leader? You guys are thinking, aren't you? There we go. There's Jennifer, Stephanie. Honorable. Oh, that's a good word. Attentive. Yes. Dependable. Uh-huh. Exactly. Brianne, you got one? Autumn? What's a good word to describe a good leader? Think of someone that you've had in your past. Maybe it was an ex-boss. Self-motivated. Yes, you do have to be very self-motivated. Enthusiastic. Very good. And I think, let me see, awesome. I love that word, Autumn, yes. Attentive. Okay, so those are all very good words. And so there's words that come to your mind when you hear the term good leader. And that's what we want to focus on. I want you to start thinking about that as we go through this chapter. It's not something you talk about every day. You're probably not going to sit down with your friends and say, hey, let's talk about what a good leader is. And they're going to go, what? Did you just fall out of a tree? So a good thing is that we can talk about this in class. So here's a few other things a good leader might be. And you guys said some of these. Maybe they have clear goals, vision. They can see where the company is going to go. They communicate clearly, expect the best. They support you. Recognition, I think, is very important, that they recognize what you're doing as an employee, because that means all the world to someone. That's something that CCC is fantastic about. Stimulating work, focus on team interests and needs, and they're inspiring and they have integrity. So yes, those are all qualities in a good leader. And I think it's important when we talk about leaders that we bring up the difference between two terms, a boss versus a leader. So first of all, just hearing those two different terms, can you tell that one has a little bit of a negative feel to it? Boss is a little more negative, whereas a leader is more inspiring. So a boss may drive their employees, depends on authority, being the head honcho, maybe get you to work by instilling fear in you, which is crazy. We don't really want that anymore. Says the I word, places blame for the breakdown, usually on someone else, doesn't take any responsibility for it, knows how it's done, uses people, takes credit that maybe isn't due, commands and says go. Instead of on a leader, it's let's go. Let me see what Jennifer has. Boss makes me feel like they think they are better than me, versus a leader makes me feel like they are on my same level. That's excellent. Yes, you got it. So a leader, yes, they're on your side. They're coaching you, goodwill. They're enthusiastic. When something breaks down, they want to find out the reason, not point the finger and tell who's to blame. They give credit to you. They develop, and they ask you to do something as opposed to telling you you have to do this. And that is kind of what makes the difference in a boss and a leader. And we're seeing this more and more as business develops. A boss is sort of a thing of the past. You kind of think of the 70s or 80s version of your boss when you think of that term, whereas leader is more now. So here's some of the personality traits of effective leaders. We've got several different slides to go through, and I've thrown a few in here that I hope are a little less boring than these. But there's some that we just have to muddle through real quick. Personality traits of effective leaders. Leaders have certain personality traits that contribute to leadership effectiveness. And we're going to talk later on about if these traits, if they're just born with it, or if they've developed it over time. It varies. Oh, it looks like I froze there for a minute. The leader personality traits can be divided into two basic groups. We're going to talk about each one in a little more detail. General personality traits are the ones that are observable in and outside of the context of work. So those are the traits that this person has when they're at home or when they're at work, either one. It's not that they just have this trait at work. You don't see people that are leaders that are much like that. They're related to success, satisfaction in both work and personal life. And then we have task-related traits, which are more closely associated with the task accomplishment, specifically skills. So first let's look at some of the general personality traits of a good leader. They have self-confidence, humility. They can laugh at themselves when they make mistakes. Very important. Their core self-evaluations. They're constantly wanting to improve themselves. They have trustworthiness, authenticity, extroversion, which is separate from an introversion person, right? They're outgoing. You can understand them. They're not holding up in the office and being off to themselves. Assertiveness, enthusiasm, optimism, warmth, and a sense of humor, because everybody loves a sense of humor. Whenever I was reading our discussion boards from Tuesday on satisfaction and dissatisfaction of leaders, I always say that, in our discussion boards, I always learn something. So since this is the first time I taught Leadership Develop, I have to tell you, as I read through the boards, the thing that stood out to me was that so many people said, I liked the way feeling trustworthy felt, or it gave me self-confidence, or I enjoyed having that power, or being assertive, that they enjoyed it. But then at the very end, so many people said, but I really don't want to be the leader. I don't want to be the boss. I don't want to be the person above others. So it really stood out to me that so many responded in a similar way. There was just a few that said, yes, that's what I want to be. I want to be the leader. Now here's the thing. You don't just automatically want to do that. Some people, may have been born with a little tie around their neck ready to go. But a lot of this you just have to develop as you age. So, and these come along with experience, basically. A lot of these personality traits develop over time. So the next one, task-related personality traits. This is our second type of personality trait, is having a passion for the work and the people that you do. It's very hard to be passionate about a job that you don't enjoy, right? You can fake it a little bit, but over time it's going to wear on you, and so it's very important. One of the things that you guys have done is you have chosen an area that you're passionate about. You've chosen whatever your major is because you like it, there's jobs in that area, and you can see yourself functioning in that career, so that's great. They also have emotional intelligence, self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management. So emotional intelligence basically just means you work well with others. You can understand. You're empathetic. You can sense what they're going through and help support them. Flexibility and adaptability, very important. You can't be rigid in a leadership position. You have to be able to grow and change. The main thing that comes to my mind on flexibility and adaptability is technology. In any work field, you're going to have some type of technology that you're dealing with, and maybe on a daily basis, and that could be changing on a pretty regular basis as well. So you have to relearn, readapt, be flexible with that change to be the leader, to be able to move up in that career. Also, internal locus of control, which we're going to talk about on the next slide, and having courage. So you have to have a little bit of courage to make changes, to grow, to take a chance. So internal locus of control, this is a term that you probably haven't heard very much before. Internal locus of control is basically the prime mover behind events, innate capacity to take charge. It's associated with having self-confidence, being able to perform well, and they can change unfavorable conditions. And if you look at the picture on the left and the picture on the right, the one that in the green box down below, let me get my pointer, internal locus of control, you make things happen. I can make things happen. Look what I can do. I can determine my future, versus someone that has an external locus of control. Things happen to you, and you can probably think of people in your life that are on both sides of this fence. External, why bother? Why does everything happen to me? There's nothing I can do about my future. And that's not the positive attitude, is it? This is what we want to focus on, making things happen. So that's what a leader can do, is that's what they can do, is make things happen for themselves. Some leadership motives. You know, we talked before about the discussion board, that not everyone wants to be the leader, and actually everybody can't be the leader. We have to have a few that are the followers that help out. So why do they want to be a leader? What are their motives? Effective leaders have frequently been distinguished by their motives and needs. Leaders have an intense desire to occupy a position of responsibility for others and to control them. The desire is evident in 4 categories of motives and needs. And so, again, focus on this is why, 4 different reasons why a person might want to be a leader. Power, drive and achievement, tenacity, resilience, and strong work ethic. So these are some reasons. Let's go to here. The first one was the power motive. We see a few people like this. They have a strong need to control the resources and the people in their chosen industry and their place of work. A lot of these may be entrepreneurs that are there for the power. They seek power to further their own interests sometimes, personalized power motive, or maybe they have a more socialized power motive. They seek power to achieve organizational goals or vision. They're more emotionally mature leaders, less defensive, accept expert advice and long-range perspective, so they have vision. And if you look at the picture down below, I think this really exemplifies the power motive. You're on a pedestal, and these are sort of like the minions, right? So that's the power motive. The next one is the drive and achievement motive. So leaders are known for working hard to achieve their goals, the drive and achievement motive. So just take a minute and think about someone in your life, maybe a friend or family member, that has this drive and achievement. The drive is high energy towards achieving goals and to be persistent in applying that energy so they're not giving up. Achievement, a desire to find joy in accomplishments of goals or their own vision. A little bit more about drive and achievement. They achieve through effort. They take moderate risk. They like to receive feedback because they want to improve. They introduce novel, innovative, creative solutions, and they have a plan and they set goals. So this is drive and achievement motive. The next one is tenacity and resilience motive. Now, tenacity means basically like stick-to-itiveness. You're not going to give up. And resilience means you can bounce back pretty easily. So maybe you experience a failure, but you don't let it get you down. You can hop back up and go at it again. Motivational characteristics of leaders are that they are tenacious and they are resilient. Tenacity multiplies in importance for organizational leaders because it takes a long time to implement a new program or to consummate a new business deal. And you know, sometimes it can even be years. I used to teach for NSU out of Tahlequah. They were talking about getting a new program started, and they said, all right, great, let's get some community leaders together. Let's have a meeting. And after that meeting, they said, okay, we can probably get this program up by 2016. And my jaw just dropped because I thought, how long? It's going to take us 2 years to do this. So that's an example of something that's going to take a lot of planning, and you're really going to have to stick with it and not give up to accomplish that. The tenacious leader is resilient when they bounce back from a setback through their continuous effort. Leaders become great not because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others. So we're not saying, like I said, not everybody is going to be a leader, but there are certain qualities that you can develop within yourself that are leader-like or that can help you take the next step. So we want to empower people. Okay. The next is we're looking more at our brain, the cognitive factors and leadership. Because, of course, you have to have a little brain up there to be the boss, to be the leader, right? Cognition, the mental process or faculty by which knowledge is gathered. Leaders must have problem-solving and intellectual skills to effectively gather, process, and store essential information. So basically, you have to remember things well, and you need to be able to solve problems. And that's one thing that I love. I love solving problems. I love looking at something that's broke down and try to figure out how to fix it. When my washing machine broke last week, I was on YouTube looking up its make and model, trying to figure out how to fix it, and I did. And it cost me nothing, and I thought it was great. So cognitive factors. Cognitive or analytical intelligence is one thing. Practical intelligence is another thing, basically like common sense. And it's great to have good common sense. Knowledge, you might have knowledge of the business or the task, so maybe you're a specialist in whatever they're doing. You might have creativity as a form of cognitive factor, so you can get creative with solving problems, or maybe you're in, I don't know, advertisement, and you need to get creative literally. Insight into people and situations, and farsightedness and conceptual thinking. So a little bit about the cognitive factors in leadership. Now the next is heredity, and this really, I think this area is really interesting. So just a few questions for you guys. Let's focus on, well, first of all, how heredity or environment contribute more to leadership effectiveness, but the second one, are there born leaders? I want to know what you think. Think about that for a minute. Do you think there are people that are just born leaders? Do you think it's more, it's kind of like a nature or nurture question? Is it how they're raised, or the fact that maybe their mom and dad were leaders? You think it's more environmental, Stephanie? Gotcha. And I can completely see that, definitely. I like watching your bubbles as you type, so I can tell everybody's thinking. Okay, Jennifer, I don't know, I think maybe they are somewhat born with it, but I think it's what they are taught. Said too, what they were born with and what makes it, yeah. And then Autumn, I think it's how they were raised. So it sounds like most of you guys are really, you know, saying basically it's how you're raised. Were your mom and dad leaders? Did they push you into areas that helps you develop some of these leadership skills? Some examples that I think of from high school are FCCLA, FHA, student council. You know, there are several different things. Maybe you were on a speech and debate team. There's a lot of things that can help you develop the skills that you need for leadership. When I taught high school family and consumer sciences, I taught a class called entrepreneurship, where they learned how to start a business and the steps that they would need to take to do that. And one of the things that we did every day in that class was first thing in the morning, I had 3 of them stand up, and they grabbed a random topic out of a cup, and they had to talk about it for 1 minute. And I know that doesn't sound like it's a very long amount of time, but it really helped get them used to standing in front of other people, speaking in front of other people, and it was never a high-stress topic. It might be, what's your favorite dinner? And they had to talk about it and tell me why. So there are steps that you can take with your own children as well and with yourself. Public speaking, I think, is one of the most important things that you can know how to do, especially in a leadership area. So are there born leaders? Maybe environment is what we're leaning towards. And can you think of some examples? Well, I pulled a few up. I thought these were interesting. Think about the Kennedys, the Bushes, the royal family. Now, sure, they were born into this family, and sure, they have the genetics, but one thing that all these families have in common is a lot of money. They probably went to the best schools to get the best skills, and definitely to help further them after high school and after college in their lives. So to me, this is, again, more of an example of maybe it's nurture, maybe it's after you're born, these skills that you achieve. Now, my parents weren't teachers. I didn't even grow up wanting to be a teacher. That was really the farthest thing in my mind. But one time at NSU, we had a teacher get sick, and I was a graduate assistant, and they asked me to teach a class since she was unable to, and I reluctantly did it. But after I did, I absolutely loved it, and it's been my area ever since. And so when I guess I was about 23 years old, is when I figured out sort of what I wanted to do. Now, when I was 23, did I know I would be teaching online on the internet? No, we didn't even really have that yet. It was barely there. You could look a few things up online, and we had to dial up through our phone to do that. So this is an example of I was sort of put into a leadership position. I didn't really want to be there, but after I did, I enjoyed it, and I was so happy that someone else saw that I had some potential. So I'm still working on that. But I'm trying to be flexible. I'm learning technology, and we just have to keep going to get better, right? So born leaders, a little bit about heredity and environment. They do say that, you know, we do have a little mental capacity that we're born with, some environmental influences that definitely come along the way to help develop your potential, because we want to increase that potential. Genetics play a role in sometimes determining your leadership potential. Emotional intelligence reinforces leadership as a combination of inherited and also learned factors too, because, you know, for me as an early childhood educator, I know how much children are affected at a very young age by exactly how they are raised, by what they have gone through, because that goes into making you you. Right here, a little bit about the strengths and limitations of the trait approach. Says serves as a guide to leader selection. An example might be with the royal family. They're born into it. It can guide individuals in preparing for leadership. So maybe you're born into this wonderful family that has strong leadership abilities, and maybe you're going to be great, and maybe you're not. We don't know. Some of the limitations does not identify which amount of characteristics are absolutely needed, because there are a lot of characteristics we just discussed. Can breed an elitist conception of leadership, basically saying that if you're not born in the right family, you can't be a leader. Different situations call for different combinations of traits. We're all unique, right? So some good and some bad. So can a single person have all of these traits discussed, all of these leadership abilities? What do you think? Do you think there's a single person out there in the world that has all of those abilities? No. Probably not going to happen. Well, Jennifer, it's true. It could happen. We are creating superhumans, right? However, can a single person have several? You are optimistic, Jennifer. I love that. Okay, so can a single person have several of these traits? Yes, they definitely can. They definitely can. And what you do is you learn those traits with age, and you learn to emphasize the ones that are the best, and you go from there. If your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, to do more, and to become more, you are a leader. And that's John Quincy Adams. I love quotes. So you don't have to be just the CEO that you sort of think of when you think of leader. Sometimes just inspiring other people to do a little bit better makes you a leader as well. Okay, do you guys have any questions that I have answers to? I want to take just a little bit of time, make sure you guys are settled into the course okay. You've got the basic schedule down with discussion boards on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and most of the other assignments due on Saturday. Hopefully you get it in by Saturday at midnight, and then you kind of take Sunday off, have a day of rest. Okay? That's great. All right. Do you guys have any questions, Jennifer? Sounds great? Awesome. Awesome. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and end. I shot for 8:45 and it's 8:43, so I feel like I'm winning tonight. And it's my birthday, so I'm excited. You guys have a good night, and as I always say, thank you, Stephanie. Thank you guys. Call me, email me, text me if you have any questions. The last thing I want for you to be is out there confused, not knowing what's going on, or not understanding an assignment. So I'm not one of those teachers. I want to help out, and I want you to know that, okay? You guys have a great night, and I will see you next Thursday at 8 o'clock. We'll have our second live lecture, okay? Have a great evening. Bye-bye.